Hey, welcome to For the Meeple, by the Meeple. As always, I'm Mike Carpenter, and today we are taking a look at Sheriff of Nottingham. This is a bluffing game for 3 to 5 players, in which players are going to be trying to get as many points as possible from the legal goods they bring into Nottingham. However, there's also some contraband, and the sheriff is desperate to stop it from entering his city, or at least benefit from it coming in. So let me show you how the game works, and then I'll give you some final thoughts. Here is the setup for Sheriff of Nottingham. I've set up a 5-player game, but it is important to note that in games with only 3 players, you're going to remove some of these cards, and then there are also some royal cards, or royal goods, that you are going to be able to add to the game as you feel more comfortable with the gameplay. Now, as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on in terms of components in this game. Each player is going to receive a player board, and these player boards have areas marked in the corners where you can place the cards that you've managed to successfully smuggle into the city underneath the player board. Each player is also going to receive a bag. These bags just snap in the back. I've had some complaints that some of these bags are harder than others to open, so if you're playing for the first time, I'd be aware of that and be careful not to ruin your components with somebody trying to yank on them too hard. At the beginning of the game, each player is also going to receive $50 in money. Now, these are just cardboard tokens, but they are very sturdy, very good quality component. And each player will receive 6 cards face down. I'll cover those in just one moment. You're also going to create 2 discard piles. The book suggests that you can put them in these sides. However, we like to be able to see what's in the discard pile, because as you make choices about what to discard and what you're going to have an opportunity to maybe take back from the discard pile, it's easier to see what's in there if they're visible. One player is then going to be chosen at random to be the first sheriff. They will receive that sheriff marker, and then play will begin. The game is played over a number of rounds. Each player in the game will get an opportunity to be the sheriff 2 times. So in a 5-player game, we're going to play 10 rounds. In a 3-player game, the rulebook suggests that you can have each player be the sheriff 3 times. That's up to you. Now, I said that each player gets 6 cards at the beginning of the game. There are 2 kinds of cards. As you can see, there are some green cards which represent legal goods, and then there are some red cards that represent contraband. Now, no matter what kind of card it is, they're going to have a point value in the top right and a penalty value in the bottom right. So, each round in the game consists of 5 phases. The first phase is a market phase. And what's going to happen in turn order, starting with the player to the left of the sheriff, they're going to have an opportunity to exchange cards from their hand with cards in the discard pile and or from the draw piles. So if I wanted to get rid of some of my contraband out of my hand here, I would remove 2 of my peppers and maybe my cheese, since I have 2 apples. I'm only going to put those face down near the discard pile at first. I'm not going to reveal them right away. Then I'm going to, in some combination, by either just taking cards from the discard, just drawing new cards, or combining them, I'm going to draw back up to 6. So I have a couple apples. I want to get an apple, and then maybe I'll draw 2 random cards. So I get a chicken and another chicken. So now I have 6 cards. Then reveal the cards that I discarded. So I'm going to place these strategically, because in this game you can obviously take cards from the discard pile, but it looks bad to take a contraband card. So maybe I put the legal good down, then cover it with the contraband, and then I'll cover those 2 legal goods with the contraband. What that does is makes it more expensive for a player that wants chicken. They now have to get rid of 3 cards to get that chicken, rather than 2 originally. So that's just part of strategy, but the gameplay itself is just discard face down, and then once you've taken new cards, reveal your cards. Once every player has had an opportunity in the market phase to exchange cards, play will then go to load merchant bags phase. And what that part is, you would just simply look at what's in your hand and decide up to 5 cards to put in your bag. So I'm going to put 3 apples and a contraband in my bag. So I will do that. I have to do that secretly. I don't want to let anyone know what's in my bag. And then I'm going to clip it shut. And once everybody has done that, you'll go to the declaration phase. And what happens in the declaration phase is, in player order again, I'm going to hand my bag to the sheriff and tell him exactly what is in my bag. Or so he thinks. So there are some rules to the declaration. One of the rules is I can only claim one type of legal good. So as I hand this to him, I have apples in my bag. I'm going to claim apples, and I'm going to say the exact number of cards in my bag, but I don't say that I have multiple types of goods. So what I would do here is I would say I have 4 apples, and I would hand the bag to the sheriff. All players are going to do that. And then it will move to the inspection phase. The inspection phase is the sheriff is just simply going to decide whether or not each player is lying or telling the truth. Where the fun comes in, though, is that a player may bribe the sheriff not to open their bag. So if the green player was inspecting my bag and trying to decide if I was telling the truth about 4 apples, and it looked like he was going to open my bag, which is as soon as he unsnaps that, he has to consider it opened, and we would play from that from an open bag on. But if I see he's about to open it, or maybe he's trying to trick me into believing that I'm going to open it, I can make deals with him. I can tell him, if you let this through this time, I'll let you smuggle something in next time, or I'll give you $3 not to open my bag. There's all kinds of bribery and promises and different things you can do. The only thing you cannot do is promise money and then not actually pay up on your money. Everything else is just take me for my word. That's the only one you cannot lie about. So what I mean by that is that I could say, I'll let you bring some... on the next term, when I'm the sheriff, you can bring some contraband in. But then he tries to sneak some contraband in, and I catch him by opening his bag. So everything else is at your word, other than lying about money. So once the sheriff has made his decision about the other 4 players' bags, he's going to either open them or not open them. So he hands the unopened bag back to me, and then I have to show what was in my bag. So I'm going to show the sheriff that instead of 4 apples, I had 3 apples and a contraband. So I'm going to tuck my apples in under the appropriate place on my player board. I'll tuck my contraband in the appropriate place, and then the sheriff would then decide whether he's going to open or give the bag back to the yellow player. Now, there are rules to the opening, though. So, if the sheriff had opened my bag, I would get my 3 apples, because they're legal goods. There's no problem with bringing them into Nottingham. But I would have to pay the penalty of $4 to the sheriff for the 1 contraband card that I had. Had I had 2 contrabands, I would pay the total penalty for both cards. Since he gave that back to me, I'm just going to simply score the points of it. Had he opened it and I really did have 4 apples rather than only 3 in a contraband, he would have had to have paid me the penalty for inspecting my bag for no reason, and he would have paid, I only have 3 here, but he would have paid $8 for all 4 of the apples. Once all players have had their bag inspected and then paid different bribes and different amounts of money for penalties and success and everything, play is going to move to the end of round phase. All that is all players that have less than 6 cards are going to draw back up to 6. So they will take 4. I would take 4 cards from the draw pile. I now have 6 cards in my hand, and the sheriff's token would pass to me. And then the same 5 steps would proceed. You will do that until all players have had an opportunity to be the sheriff 2 times. Then you're going to take all the successful goods that you've smuggled in of each type and count up the amount in the top right corner. And then there are bonuses for each type of good other than contraband. So if you've brought in the most apples at the end of the game, you're going to get a 20-point bonus. Second place in the apples will get 10. There's bonuses for first and second on each type of good, some being worth more points than others. The player with the most money at the end of the game is the winner. Sheriff of Nottingham is not your traditional board game. This is not the kind of game that relies on mechanisms and the design to make the game enjoyable. This is the kind of game that relies on the type of player playing it and how well those players can play the game, which I have no problem with. I think there's definitely a place for these kind of games in the market. I think that's proven. But it does definitely offer a big con, and that is, if you get the wrong group, this game is so fragile that it can just fall apart almost instantly. And I don't mean the game breaks necessarily. I just think that if you're just playing the mechanisms, it's not that fun. There are some choices, but it's not that big a deal, because if you don't want to play the game with contraband, like if you don't want to try to bring contraband in, or if you're just simply bringing in one good or two goods because you have a pair, those mechanisms don't lend themselves to a really good time. Now, that's on me as the person suggesting this game. I need to know that it's the right group to play this game with, and that's fine. But it just but there's that possibility. You can't just aimlessly throw this game on the table and expect it to work in every scenario. So there's that concern. Now, there are pros about the game though. One, component-wise, excellent component quality. I really like the sturdy feel of the player boards and the sturdy feel of the coins. The sheriff marker, it's nice. It's just the bottom won't stay in real well, so that's kind of an annoyance, but it's not quality as much as implementation of the actual piece, and that may just be my copy. But for the actual gameplay, it can be as enjoyable as your group can make it, which means the potential for a really great time is going to be much better than a traditional type of board game. And I like that. The table talk, the promises, the bribery, the negotiations, the things that you can bring to this game that are not necessarily written in the rule book is what makes this game really fun for the right group. And I really, really enjoy that aspect of it. The freedom that the game allows you is nice. Now, what do I give the game? I give the game a 7, because the game itself, I've had way too many great times playing this game to not give it at least a 7. If somebody suggested this, I would definitely play it. The only reason I can't go a little bit higher is because there is a major con. I cannot play this with kids. I can't play this with with kids of a certain age, the kids that I play with. I cannot play this with people that are not going to enjoy the feel of having to lie to each other right to each other's face. There's just not a huge opportunity for me to play this game, but the game itself is good enough to deem that 7 out of 10. So that's my rating. Maybe if you have any comments about it, please leave a message below. I'd love to talk to you about how you play Sheriff and if it fits your group well. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you again next time. Thanks.